Hello again. A few days ago I had the weekly slap on in the background while doing other things, but then I looked at what the title of what was, at the time, the newest video. Newest being 5 months ago, but I don't exactly have a soapbox to preach from regarding upload consistency. Regardless, it was titled, "It All Works Out in the End." Frankly, the video title was only tangentially related to the content discussed within, much in the way that high schoolers extrapolate ridiculous themes from classics that have been examined in depth for centuries. But then I thought, does it really? I'm not a super doomer, but it did get me thinking, and now I'd like to share my New York subway system of thought with the rest of you. First things first, I need to talk about the video itself, which might confuse you considering that I stated moments earlier that it's only vaguely tied to the discourse. In it, Mr. Slap talks to great length about legacies, aimlessness, meaning, and ends the video with the consolation that nobody really knows what they're doing. A poignant note to end on. However, one would consider it to be in direct opposition to previous views that the man held and spoke. There are several videos in which Schlatt is asked about following one's dreams, mostly in the context of YouTube because that was his dream and what he can give anecdotal experience on. Though he gives good advice, he also makes certain to ground his recommendations in a pragmatic viewpoint, and frequently notes that he can't say, in good faith, to drop everything and follow one's dreams. One thing that comes up each time is survivorship bias, and that while Schlatt could say to pursue dreams wholeheartedly, there are countless others in the YouTube sphere that have done so and failed. So there seems to be a disconnect, a consistent acknowledgement that failure to realize dreams is a very real possibility, and a platitude that things will sort themselves out. What is the reality of the situation, and what should you do? Well, I'll try to unravel the seeming discrepancy, which isn't hard to do. YouTube is a microcosm of the greater discussion being held here, and although it seems to me to be the most important one, it's also disingenuous to hone in on this one aspect. So let's expand the statement, "It all works out in the end," to what I believe to be its original parameters. If you contemplate your circumstances and take what you believe to be the best course of action, even if you fail, even if it's bittersweet, then eventually you can come to terms with the path you've walked. My old man had a similar phrase which, vaguely translated is, everything 100%. I can get into the nitty-gritty of that phrase, but for now I'll simplify it into putting enough effort that you won't regret it later, which is thematically similar to the earlier phrase, "It all works out in the end." I think they're contingent upon one another, because you won't be able to look back fondly on a struggle you detest, barring the very real possibility of Stockholming yourself into enjoying it, and you won't be able to look back fondly on a dream that you failed if you half-assed it. So that's the greater statement analyzed, but even honing the notion back into YouTube, you can still make sense of the implications at play here. We all know that making YouTube your dream has a high likelihood of ending with McDonald's shifts and nothing to show for it. What is Schlatt's frequent response to whether or not somebody should become a YouTuber? No, you're gonna fail. And if me saying that stops you, then you weren't cut out for it.
Any advice for streaming? Do you want to give him some advice, Tommy?
Don't.
Subscribe to Tommy in it first.
You're probably not going to make it.
Well, it depends. You want helpful advice?
In his own way, Schlatt is making sure that the people who ask him for advice are the people who will be able to walk the walk, the ones that will be able to put in the amount of effort that won't leave them looking back and seeing wasted time. Because truly and honestly, if someone telling you to not pursue your dream is cause enough for you to abandon it, that proves them right. That's the immediate question out of the way. Now let's look at the phrase, "It all works out in the end," holistically. There's not nearly as much to say here. Obviously, not everything ends in success, or even in circumstances you can come to terms with. I don't think that the people shooting up fentanyl would appreciate the sentiment. The only way you could possibly consider the phrase to be true at face value is if you also believe in quantum immortality, but even then that would only apply if death is the only failure you would be unable to find consolation in. Is it universally true that, if you put forth sufficient effort into a cause you're invested in, that you'll consider the attempt in and of itself worthwhile? No. If you have a strong, pessimistic mindset, you won't be able to see value in having failed. The caveat is that you can always change your mindset. Hell, if you're one of those people that have that kind of mindset, not walking the path would incite despair anyway. So really the lesson to be learned here is that pessimism causes a lot of damned if you do, damned if you don't scenarios. That's just its definition. For most people, chasing a dream without neglecting stability is always going to be the right choice, and one that won't cause regret. The without neglecting stability is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, by the way. If you're still here, thank you for watching. I initially didn't mean to make this such a pointed reaction and wanted it to be more general, but then I realized that the context was really what oriented my thoughts on the matter. Without the context, the statement doesn't really mean anything, which is why I got whiplash reading it in the first place. Anyway, these types of videos are a lot easier to make, just because there's far less editing. That means that I need my intonation and discourse to be on point for it to still be quality content, so I have to work on that. With that said, I probably won't be dropping these while editing larger videos, or at least I don't intend to since I like working on one thing at a time. Right now though, I just came off a big video in the Gacha tier list, so I'm going to be releasing more simple videos for the immediate future.